because first of all, we had a lot of underlying health conditions that weren't being addressed in the first place. So that impacted our or increased our risk to contracting COVID-19. And then there were the barriers to healthcare. So our president at the time, Dr. Gynesis Radio, decided to work with the Center for Disease Control, and they established this Good Health Wins initiative. And that afforded us a grant, and they gave monies to the NCNW chapters to go out into the communities and spread the word about good health and just get real information out about the COVID-19, the disease and the vaccine. And we know our communities have a general distrust of the medical community. And for us, for Black people, it dates back, I guess, as early as the Tuskegee experiment, which we're all familiar with.
Yes.
And I'll tell you honestly, I was one of those people that really, even though I was a baby when the experiment came to an end, so it lasted from 1932 to 1972. And for those who don't know, there was a study conducted on Black men who had syphilis, and they thought they were being treated for the disease, but instead they were being used as guinea pigs to see what would happen if syphilis went untreated. So about 100 Black men died from that. Their families were impacted. Children were born with syphilis and so on and so forth. So with that experiment went on for 40 years and was leaked out to the public in 1972 when it came to an end. That's one of the things that caused the distrust. So so NCW had this idea to create trusted messengers. So we know that we accept information from people more readily, openly when the people look like us. Right? So they created this Good Health Wins initiative to create a system of trusted messengers. So I'm a trusted messenger, and Terry, by way of you having me on your show today, you are now a trusted messenger from Good Health Wins and COVID-19.
That's a beautiful thing.
So thank you.
You're more than welcome.
So we partnered with a Black Doctors Consortium. So we had a bunch of Black doctors who went out in communities and created these other, initiatives and programs to share information, facts about the COVID-19 vaccine and the disease. So I'll start right there because I can talk and talk and talk. So any questions that you have so far?
Hey, well, you mentioned Bethune-Cookman, and first thing popped in my mind was that school in Florida, because in my family, all the men went to FAM, and all the women Bethune-Cookman. Okay. How about that? So that resonated with me right away, But wow, that's outstanding, because I didn't know as much about your organization as you just led on to me, because I really thought it was just something local. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it had such legs that was national. I thought it was just a local organization right here in the Poconos. So that's great. And
and a lot of people think that, and that's one of the things that I want to make sure people understand, that it is a national organization, and myself as a state president, I have oversight for 15 sections across the state of Pennsylvania, and so we have community-based sections, which are the adult sections, I call them, and then we have college sections. And so we have the Greater Pocono section, we have the Philadelphia section, the Delaware Valley section, which kind of services the Philadelphia area as well, the Harrisburg, and the Rankin-Mount Valley, Pittsburgh. So those are the 5 community sections. I won't name all the colleges. We have 10 colleges, one of which is at ESU. We have a chapter there. So, and then just across the state of Pennsylvania, we have nearly 1,000 members. So these people are getting out into the communities and just focusing on, all of our thrusts, which is, education, health equity, entrepreneurship and economic development, and STEAM education is one of the top, priorities for our organization. So, we do a lot. We do a lot in the community, and it's not just a club. People hang out and wear the same colors.
Yeah. It's not a fraternity.
Right.
Because most people think it's just a fraternity.
Right.
And you have to be a part of the fraternity. Because so many people have events, mm-hmm. and you see all the events, and you really don't get the backstory. You just gave a great backstory, on the organization, and heck, I'm gonna leave my platform whenever you need it, because that's what I'm all about, and I believe that we are better together. And knowing is half the battle, because bad news travel fast, and people rather hear bad stuff, negative stuff, because they can add their 2 cents to it. But when you hear something that's positive and good, like what you're doing and what your organization is doing, nobody recognizes that. Now, how I recognize it is because of our relationship, and I follow you on social network, and I always tap in, and I tell you, I see what you're doing, I'm loving it, and I'm saying, hold up, she in Philly, she in Pittsburgh, you know what I mean, and I'm seeing the same logo, and I'm like, okay, and then you told me that you was the national state president, and I said, wow, okay, all right, so it's bigger than what I thought it was, so you're doing your thing, and I appreciate that. We salute you, and I know that you are community minded. You are one of the few people who, outside of me knowing you on a personal level, who actually came to the Poconos and made an impact. And it wasn't about you.
Thank
you. You're not running for political office. You're here to make a change. Your organization is here to make a change, and that's huge, because so many people have come here and all they see is what's in the mirror. It might come out as it's about the people, but it's ultimately about the mirror, and everybody got a political agenda, and you lose people that way, but I like this here because we need to know more about the different programs and activities that's going on in the community, because one thing for certain, 2 things for sure: everybody who's anybody in politics, socially, gonna walk through these doors at Gynesis Radio at some point. You know what I mean? I've been to this platform for everybody, the judges, all the politicians. You know what I mean? And one thing I find that so many people come and draw from the well, and it won't give anything back. Won't even give me a drink of water from my well. You know what I mean? So that's why I proceed with caution. But when you move the right way and you're doing something for the community and for the people, I'm all for it. Count me in. You know what I mean? Count me in, because we need the help. You know what I mean? And the community needs the help. So why don't you tell us a little bit about each program that you guys are doing, and then we can get extensive into the COVID thing.
So, wow. I'll just talk about the Greater Pocono section. So one of the events they have coming up is the Juneteenth Freedom Festival. So it's the second year that they'll be doing it. And it's on June 18th, which is Father's Day. So it's celebrating freedom, fathers, and family. And, basically there'll be a lot of entertainment, there'll be food, there'll be vendors, a lot of fun. And that's one of the more, community open events that, we just want to bring the community together and celebrate Juneteenth. One of the other events that's coming up is we call it empanadas and collard greens. And that was started about 4 years ago, where we, the NCNW members in the Poconos, we cook food and take it over to the students at ESU, East Stroudsburg University. And basically, we created that as a bridge to let these students know who coming from, as far as Philadelphia and New York, and they're here and they feel, they get homesick and they don't have a sense of community, and we let them know that we're here. So we bring the home cooked meals that they may miss, and then we take that time to talk to them and let them know again that we're here for them, answer any questions. So that's a wonderful event as well received. And I'm cooking collard greens this year.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have my collard greens over there. What else have we done? We just had our 7th annual Dr. Dorothy I. Height Tea. And Dr. Dorothy Height was president of the national president of NCNW for nearly 50 years. And she was a civil rights activist. She was, very much into education. She was an advisor for several presidents. But one of the things, and I want you to look for this, when Martin Luther King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech, she's the only woman on the platform. With it. You look at that picture that they show with the monument behind him. She's in that picture, and people don't even realize that that's her.
Wow.
But she was the only woman that was part of that, and she was supposed to have a speaking part, and they denied it to her that right because she was a woman. But we honor her each year around her birthday, which is on March 24th, and we have this big celebration where we honor people in the community and just celebrate the life of Dorothy Height. We also every year we do dinner with dignity, where we cook again, and we do a lot of cooking.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so it's around Thanksgiving time, and we cook meals for the homeless. But instead of standing out in the street and giving it to them or taking the plate, we find a warm place where they can sit down. We decorate it with holiday decorations, and we allow them to come and sit down, and we give them a warm meal. They can take out plates if they want. So that's something we've been doing for about 5 years now. And I mean, I can go on and on. We had a Stream University, which was a free STEM education program that we did for middle school students. So they would come every month and learn about, science, technology, engineering, and math. And at the end, that was a 6-month program. At the end of the program, we gave them a certificate. But like I said, we do a lot. We try to collaborate with other organizations as well so that we can have a bigger impact. But I love it. My life is just about service. I love serving the community. I love seeing people smile. And someone recently asked me what keeps me up at night. It's hunger, depression. We have a lot of people that are still hungry, no matter, despite what our efforts. There are a lot of people that are still hungry, people we may not even realize. Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day about what NCNW does,
Hey,
but
listen,
that's another organization.
I'm loving every minute of it. You know what? I'm mad right now because you're supposed to count me in. I'm supposed to be a part of all this. I'm supposed to be all of this part of this because you know what? I'm like saying, this is the same sandwich. This is what I want to do. I want in.
Okay.
What do I got to do? I need to be in.
Well, you know what? We have male members. You can become a member today. Can I sign you up today?
You can sign me up today. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because, sometimes, people think you're the wolf, when actually you're not the wolf, because one thing, I've always been a giver, you know what I mean? And, I create things and I want to see people succeed. I want people to win, and whatever I got to do to help people win, that's what I want to do. I've always done that. You know what I mean? In for a penny, in for a pound. You know what I mean? Because it's all about elevation.
Well, look, I remember you've always been supportive for me. I remember we did the youth radio station.
That's right.
I came to you and I said, hey, Terry, we have this idea. We want to get the youth on the radio, give them some leadership training. And that's what you did. You said, come on, the doors open. And we did that program. We started. We had some young adults that took it over. That's right. And it was phenomenal. So I've never forgotten that. I appreciate you. It gave the children a platform. And
So that's what we do. Because you know what? A lot of these, organizations have to be open to taking a chance on doing something that don't necessarily feel good, that's outside of the box. You know what I mean? Just because it's in the title, it's a national women's organization. Well, the men need women and the women need men, because sometimes you need to go somewhere and it might not be a comfortable situation for you to go there. So you might need some men with you. You know what I mean? And where you go, I go. You know what I mean? You're
gonna get first of all, I'm gonna send you the link so you can register.
Oh, I'm gonna register.
And like I said, we do have male members. They call associates, but they do what we do. And I'm gonna make sure you invite to our next meeting. So
count me in, because you know what? I think I bring a lot to the table. I think I got a lot to offer. You know what I mean? And then I got a big mouth. This platform here is probably the biggest mouth on this mountain right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's do it. Everybody got to partner up together. So that's like I said, our mantra was we're better together. Yeah. And most people don't realize that. We can all splinter off and do little things, but together we're gonna go a heck of a lot further. You know, so
and I'm excited that we are partnering, you know, in the unity in the community event. So that's
absolutely.
exciting. So we look forward to being there for that.
Absolutely, you know, and that was something that we cooked up because we said that, you know, it's funny how as you move around up here, um, everybody wants to do the same thing. They just don't want to do it together.
Right.
And it's like, why you don't want to do it together? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that goes to what I was telling you, the people that's been here 20 plus, 10 to 15, and people that's been here less than 10. We're not talking the same language. You know, it's kind of like music. You know, it used to be a message, a positive message in our music when we were growing up, right? And we communicated through our music, right? Then they changed the narrative of music, and they went to this gangster rap and gangster thing and sexually explicit stuff. Now you hear what they talk about now. They even past murder, death, kill is just straight drug use, sexual content, nothing. So that's how we communicate now. So we have nothing in common. So we have to do things together to get back to normalcy. You know what I mean? Just like how we had to go from one crazy president to another crazy president, and we got to get back together to bring back some normalcy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's do things together. So we have to do things together because guess what? You got some people saying, don't take the COVID vaccine because they're putting chip in you. You know? And you got somebody else saying, you know, don't take it because Bill Gates want to depopulate the world and all this craziness. And I'm saying to myself, well, you got a cell phone in your hand, right? So if they want to track you, you got a cell phone, you got an Easy Pass, you got a credit card, you got a car.
Yes.
Everything is a tracking device.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So why do we got to inject something into you when you're carrying it, you walk around with it? So that's not the tracking device. So it can't be the vaccine. You know what I mean? And to wipe out the population, just do the math. All the poor eating. You know, the 50 years of 40 years of eating poorly is going to kill off enough people with high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease.
Right.
You know, and then you got drug abuse and car accidents. Car accidents is the number one killer, one of the number one killers in the country. So, you know, like, it's enough death by attrition. They don't have to do that. So, but anyway.
Yeah, and you're right. There's so much misinformation, and you know, we as people of color, we don't do our own research. We don't do enough of our own research. We believe whatever we see on social media, whatever we read on social media, whatever, you know, someone who does not have any education tells us, that's what we believe. And we really need to get into the habit of doing our own research. And that's why I recommend everyone looking into Black Doctors Consortium, because these are people, black doctors that look like us, people we may even know, right, that have done the research for us so that they can educate us and let us know what we need to understand, what we need to know. But I do want to get to the point, Terry, that we talked about the other day, which is why I'm so grateful you allowed me to come today. And that is, you know, I know there's still a number of people who never had the COVID vaccine. They're still afraid. They're still concerned. But, you know what, the free vaccines and the free COVID tests are ending May 11th. And my fear is that we're going to see a resurgence of the virus, the disease, and deaths in the Black communities. And what's going to happen is, you know, again, we won't be able to get free COVID vaccines. We won't be able to get free COVID test kits. In addition to that, there was an emergency authorization to have people be able to get medicated during this time. That's going to end. So we're going to see the impact first in our communities. And so I want people to understand what's happening. So you have until May 11th to get your free vaccine, stock up on the COVID test kits, which you can do if you have health insurance. You can go to, I think Rite Aid gives them for free. You can get up to 8 per person. If you have insurance, Express Scripts, you can go to their website and get free COVID test kits. I'm telling you, stock up, because we won't see it initially, but when we get to the fall, to the normal flu and COVID season, we're going to see that impact then. So, we really need to pay attention to what's going on. And especially if you have underlying health conditions. We talked about the fact in our communities we're suffering with diabetes and heart disease and all, and then we just don't go to the doctor anyway, right? We don't take care of ourselves until it gets to an extreme point where we're losing a toe or we're losing a limb or something. And we cannot pour from an empty cup. So in order for us to continue to take care of our families and our communities, we have to take care of ourselves. So I really urge everyone, do your research. Don't believe everything that you hear, and especially don't believe everything that you see on social media. Reach out to a Black doctor or someone that you trust in the community if you're not sure, reach out to them so that they can help you get the information that you need so that you can protect yourself.
Wow, that's deep. I tell everybody, I did a show on here before, and it was called Dr. Google, and we talked about everybody wants to Google everything, right? And Google is good, but Wikipedia used to be great. Everybody went to Wikipedia for everything, and then they realized that Wikipedia wasn't right all the time. Well, Google ain't right all the time either. That's why they give you so many options for you to choose what you want to believe.
Exactly.
So don't always go to Dr. Google. And if you go to Dr. Google in regards to COVID, it points you in many different directions. And one of the things that we have to do as a community, as the human race in itself, is we have to go to the doctor. Our bodies don't lie to us. One thing about us, to beat cancer, your body will let you know when there's something wrong. And one thing I can say about Black men, we are afraid of the doctor. So many men die from prostate cancer because they're afraid of going to the doctor to have a prostate exam. And that goes back to, like you said, Tuskegee experiment. Those stories have been passed. If they don't pass down anything in our community, they're going to pass down that story. You know what I mean? That sticks like glue, right? But times have changed. You know what I mean? Because now you don't have to depend. You have an option of who's going to be your doctor. And because you have an option, you don't have to worry about that. Because now you can go to a doctor who look like you, who might even still live in your community. So you don't have to worry about those things. Times have changed. The world's not the same. So go to the doctor.
But you know what? I mean, and I understand there are doctors who still, there are some Black doctors, right, that you can't trust, right? So just because someone looks like you, it doesn't mean that you can definitely just, give all your trust to them. But there's an initiative, the Black Doctors Consortium, where they're trying to ensure that doctors, regardless of what they look like, they are culturally competent, right? So one of the things that happens is that there was a belief that Black women in particular had a stronger threshold for pain than white women. So when Black women would go to the doctor with the same complaints as a white woman, they would be dismissed, and it wasn't something that was necessarily being done intentionally, but it was what the doctors believed, that Black women, and we're strong women, we are strong, but that doesn't mean that we don't deserve the same medical attention and care as our white counterparts. So again, it's really about education. It's all about education. The doctors need to be educated. They need to understand how to deal with people of color, how to talk to them, how to understand our concerns, and really understand the fears that we come with, right? All the baggage that we come with from our history, and learn how to deal with us better so that, we can trust them to give us the information and the treatment that we need.
Oh, you're so easy. Hey, listen. You have hit a home run with this here, because we talked about COVID. We wanted to bring the information to people about COVID to be prepared for what's going to happen, because when we get to the flu season and the COVID season in the fall, we know it's going to hit hard.
Yes.
We know the inner cities, where health coverage is an issue, fear is an issue, and accessibility is an issue. We know they're going to be hit hard. But when you start talking about healthcare, it's hard to just stay in one area because as I'm sitting here talking, think about this here, right? I began to go to a nutritionist. You know, I had I have heart disease. You know, 2 years ago I had open heart surgery, right? And I had to sit down and think. You know, I love good food. You know, um, my family heritage is very diverse. You know, uh, we're Afro Latinos. You know, Southern. You know, so all my life we ate the wrong foods. You know, so you want to know why people die from heart attacks in their 40s? They begin dying from heart attacks in their late 30s and 40s. Because guess what? If you've been taught to eat the wrong foods all your life, what are you going to do? It's learned behavior, right? So as I have to thank through God's grace, I had open heart surgery. You know, I'm doing great. I'm healthy. Everything's fine. I began to go see this nutritionist, and we've been talking about. And it's been years. I've been seeing nutritionists, right? And when we lined up what we should be eating as to what I used to eat and why I shouldn't be eating that stuff, it goes all the way back to those 400, 500 years of slavery. You know, we were eating the wrong foods by default. Now if we went back to the motherland, we didn't eat the wrong foods. You know what I mean? But we were taught to eat the wrong foods. So you imagine eating high fat, high cholesterol, bunch of greasy, salty stuff for 30, 40 years, what your arteries are going to look like. As opposed to people, if people say, oh, well, you got people who run every day and blah, blah, blah. Every now and then you're going to have arrhythmias and people are going to have heart attack, right? But the autopsy says their arteries are not clogged. You know, it's a difference between a African American man's arteries at 50, an Asian man's arteries at 50, a Caucasian man's arteries at 50. I'm saying I'm not talking about a Caucasian man that was Southern. You know what I mean? Who may have ate some of the same bad food that we ate. You know, so you know you are what you eat. You know, so health is important. So you have to go to the doctor. You have to worry about these different things. And again, like you said, maybe they'll hear from you. Tell them again about going to the doctor and break down this COVID thing one more time to him.
Yeah, so we have to get out of our own way. We have to take care of our bodies. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our families. We have to take care of our communities. And we need to, if we need to educate our doctors, we need to educate our doctors. And also another thing is, I'm proud of my mother. My mother went to a doctor. She was having some issues. She didn't know what it was. She went to a doctor. The doctor wrote a prescription and basically, said, go away. And she says, no, I'm not taking this. You didn't tell me what's wrong with me, right? I'm not going to take some medication when you haven't even given me a proper diagnosis. And she went to 3 different doctors before she found one that was able to diagnose what her issue was. And now I'll tell you, she wouldn't have done that years ago, right? Because as a Black woman growing up in the 40s and 50s, it was a whole different scenario. But she stood her ground, and she finally found a doctor. And it was a Black doctor, but she found a doctor that listened to her and understood what her complaints were, and did some actual testing to give her the correct diagnosis and treatment. But again, we need to demand equitable health care, and if you don't feel comfortable, go to a different doctor. And one of the things I want you mentioned here is very important too. We we make people feel bad. I remember when I stopped eating pork many, many years ago, and I was told I was bougie, right? Because I didn't want to eat pork anymore. And that's one of the things that we do to ourselves in our communities. We look down on people when someone decides that they have educated themselves enough to the point where they know that the stuff that they've been eating, they shouldn't be eating. Then their family, whose their mindset is still in the past, they call our friends, right? Call them bougie, and we have to stop that. And so it's a mindset change within our communities, within our families, and I'm sure you got it too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, because they don't care if you're dying, right? They
Absolutely.
do not care if you're sick. Oh, sugar runs in the family, so
No, it does not run in the family.
Right. So we have to get over that and really, really educate ourselves again and demand equitable health care. Um, Look into getting the COVID vaccine. If you've gotten it already, I strongly urge you get a booster before May 11th, because we don't know what's really going to happen after
How
that.
many boosters are they up to now?
3.
3. Okay.
So I strongly urge you to get a booster if you haven't gotten a vaccine yet. Um, I mean, I urge you to get the vaccine. There are 3 different vaccines out on the market right now that are approved by the FDA, maybe 4. But do your research and get the one that you think is best for you. They have the monovalent, which that was the first COVID vaccines to come out, and then they have the bivalents, which are out currently. So, but again, all the information is available on the CDC website. You can go to the blackdoctorsconsortium.org and get information there. You can go to the Good Health Wins website, which is the initiative that CNW is part of. But there's a plethora of information out there, and there's someone, you can always call NCNW if you have questions, and we'd be happy to help you. And again, now that we have Brother Terry, who's a trusted messenger and a soon-to-be new NCNW member, he will be sharing information as well.
That's right. We're gonna be running some commercials and keep everybody informed what's going on with the NCNW. So we're gonna keep y'all informed. So be prepared. We done started something here today. So as I like to say, y'all pick up on it before y'all drop it, because we coming. We coming. So is there anything else you want to go over?
No, I want to, thank you again, Terry, for first of all, again, allowing me to come here and share this important information. And I really want to thank you for your work in the community. I remember when we first reconnected, and you said, we have to come together. And I was one of those newcomers at the time, and I'm like, yeah. I have, things I want to do, but I've seen the things that you've done in the community. I listened to your radio station. I know you had the Unity in the community event last year, which I was out of town for, but I heard it was a phenomenal event. And you always extend an olive branch to everyone in the community. And one of the things that I want us to do, because you also mentioned before we got on the camera, the Hillside Inn. And I don't know if you're familiar with Wayne Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Bolt has become my mentor. And he was one of the owners or managers of the Hillside Inn, which is the only Black resort in the Poconos.
You want to hear something funny?
Yes.
I think one of my relatives used to be his babysitter.
Oh, wow.
Pickering used to babysit him.
Wow. Okay.
Way back in the days in Brooklyn.
And he remembers everything, so I'm going to ask him.
Ask him.
But we have very few of those people left here in the area. And we need to talk to them. I'm going to recommend that you get them all in here and start documenting history. Mm-hmm. Because one of the other things, so Wayne Bolt and I sit on the board for the Strasburg-Louisville Historical Association. Mm-hmm. And that's a little church on 3rd Street. And you don't even recognize it if you drive past, but we've been working, a committee has been working for many years, but we've been working for the past 5 years to restore the building, and we want to turn it into a museum and store artifacts from, about the Black history of the Poconos. Mm-hmm. So, and that church was the home of some of the Union soldiers. When they came back from the war, they went to that church, and we had a lot of Native Americans in the area at the time that also attended that church. So we want to bring back that history and make sure we document it. So even Gynesis Radio, as I'm pretty sure you're the first Black radio station here in the Poconos, we want to make sure that Gynesis Radio is documented in Strasburg-Louisville Historical Association, because that's what we're about. So I encourage you to reach out to these people. Gloria Finch. Gloria Finch is another elder that's here, and she has a lot of information. So we need to start making sure we document our history before somebody else writes it for us.
Let's do it. And I know about that little church there, and I'm glad that you're involved with it right now, because years ago, I tried to reach out to the people who's running that because all I wanted to know is what's the number, what's needed to renovate that thing to make it happen. You know, let's stop talking about it because if you give people a number to start with, then we can raise some money. We can do it in phases. So let's come up with a number because there's enough of us up here who we can raise the money at $30 at a pop.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we're there. We're there.
Yeah.
We got a grant from the Dale and Francis Hughes Foundation for $100,000 to build a bathroom. That's what was needed for us to open. They gave us that money. The bathroom will be done. We will have a ribbon cutting ceremony on June 17th. So we'll have a mini Juneteenth festival, which will end at right before the Juneteenth festival Stroud in Courthouse Square. So we're going to have an event that morning, a fish fry fundraiser to raise some additional funds. But once we have the bathroom there, we'll be able to open. So what the critical thing that we need is really trying to find historical information from the area dating before 1800s and before, so that we can start putting that in there. We have recent history, but we need that old history. So just trying to find people that have that that knowledge, the artifacts. One of the gentlemen who's on the board of directors, he is a historian for the area. So I actually did a Zoom interview with him to record the information that he knows, the historical information that he knows. So we documented that. So that's the kind of things that we want to do, is just start having these conversations with our elders and getting it on, video, and so that we can have it for the future.
Well, it's ironic you said that because I'm going to try to find this gentleman. I can't think of his name, but I remember where he lives at. I remember when I moved up here 22 years ago. He was an older guy, right? And, we talked about traffic. We had all the weekend warriors that come up here, right?
Yeah.
And he realized that I lived here. And he said, I'm gonna help you out, young man. He said, I'm gonna teach the back roads. He said, whatever you do, don't show nobody these back roads. We don't want all these weekend warriors driving through our neighborhoods and our communities and bringing the traffic, right? And he gave me a bit of a history of the Poconos, of this whole area. And I got to go find him because I remember where he lived at. I got to, hopefully he's still around, because he broke it down to me about the different Native American tribes that was here and how they migrated to go south and they would come back and why the different communities have all Native American names that they never changed, and he talked about, the African Americans that came here, that were here, and and I was like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna swing by because he might have some information that can help, contribute, man,
Yeah, the Lenni Lenape tribe was the dominant tribe in the area back in the 1800s. So, and they were Black, right? So, a lot of what happened is that because they were Black, dark-skinned Indians, people misclassified them as Negro, which is what we would call back then. But they were Native, and that's, and that gets to the whole thing about, when people say I got Indian in my family, or Indian in my blood, whatever. But we really do. A lot of us really do, because the natives were misclassified because of their dark skin, and they were called Negro. An interesting fact: I was doing some research on my history, family history, and I went through census records going back to the 1800s, and my great grandmother, right, one of the census records, it says she was Native, right? And then the next census record, 10 years later, same woman, same name, everything, it said Negro. So they changed her classification over a period of time. So now I don't know, there was no photos, I couldn't find any photos, so I don't know if, which was the misclassification, but I know a lot of that went on. So they did what they wanted to do.
That all depends on the platform you use to search.
True.
Because if you use one platform, it gives you one version. You use another one, it gives another version, and it's all about what they want to put out there. So
that's why I said we have to do our own research.
Well, let me tell you this: if they ever get around to paying reparations, the classifications of us will change
Okay.
drastically. You know what I mean?
Right.
A whole lot of us, I don't know if they're going to say, well, you need to be native to get money, or if well, how are we going to prove that you are really a descendant of a slave? You know, a lot of us are going to become native. You know what I mean? It's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on, so it's going to be interesting. But but I want in on all that stuff. You know what I mean? Count me in. Whatever needs to be done, we're here.
I will send you the invitation for that event. It's going to be wonderful.
We're here, and if you need some music and a sound system, we're there. That's what we're here. That's what we're here with. I mean, believe it or not, just so you know, this building when we moved in here, we didn't need all the space we got. We used to be over there on 9th Street, right? You remember where we was at, that little room. We moved in here, we didn't need the space. That's the DJ room. But right now, in that DJ room there, I got $40,000 sound system in there. You know what I mean? JBL sound system. Upstairs, we have 2 fully functional recording studios, state of the art. And we're right now putting together a podcast studio upstairs in another room. So this building here is going to be a fully functional media location. You know what I mean? So, and we can say whatever we want to say, do what we want to do, and we community based. You know what I mean? So we here. Just tap in, and you know what? We're better together. And let's make it happen. Just count me in.
I appreciate it, and I will.
That's good. That's good. So that's going to be it, y'all, for our special edition of the TP Square Show right here on Gynesis Radio here. It's been a pleasure having Tamika Patterson in the building with us today. Adashi's in here recording our show today. We're going to have a nice video to go along with this here, aside from what y'all seeing going live on Instagram and Facebook right now. So y'all sit tight, relax, enjoy the ride, and we're going to keep bringing y'all great information. And Tamika don't like to talk too much, but I'm going to keep dragging her back in here. You know what I mean? I'm going to get her husband back in here with me, too, because every time he's in here, we have a great time, too. So, okay, y'all. Until next time, peace. Enjoy your Sunday.